Okay, before we get started, if you watch a lot of my videos, you know that I have a if I see something, I say something policy. I try to tell RV things that are good and bad. And last year, this brand was just riddled with fit and finish issues. The structural aspect of it was built right, but it looked rough. The final 10% of the work they did sucked. I am shocked at how far they've come and how much they've improved in such a short period of time. Welcome, everybody. Josh the RV Nerd of Bishop's RV. Pretty proud to be in front of this vastly improved family of MPGs this year. Last year, the year before, they were a little bit loosey-goosey. Structurally, again, we didn't have them coming back with major service issues. But good Lord, the last 10% of work they did, the fit and finish, the trim work, it was just really, really rough. So the thing is, this is made by Cruiser RV. One of the other members of the Cruiser RV family is like DRV Mobile Suites. Not everybody's aware of that. So what they did is they said, hey, giant luxury fifth wheel people, can you send your factory managers over to help us with our processes? And basically what they found out is there were some things in the final stretch of the production of MPG RVs that they were basically, it's like they were putting on the shoes and then their socks. And they went, why don't you do this and then this? And they went, oh my gosh, that makes so much sense. And they've made a couple other improvements and changes to their production that have, I'm not telling you it's perfect. I'm not telling you, wow, they're suddenly flawless, but I'm not ashamed in a sense of what I'm seeing here. And I've still found a couple little glitches, but overall, these are so vastly improved. And this model right here, if you've got a half ton, you want to take a family out and you want a taste of the good life, but you don't want to go full neck deep into the luxury price point, that's where this is coming in. They've literally raised the roof. It has a taller ceiling now. They've improved the fit and finish. They now are offering a really slick auto leveling system. They've got the composite walls, the aluminum structure. It's not a laminated floor, so you're not worried about developing soft spots. They have this crazy gliding, sliding king bed system in the front private bedroom that still has amazing room to walk around and a bunch of other good features. If you saw an MPG last year and then this year, I don't know if you'd readily recognize them as much as they've improved. I know that I'm very shocked, and it's not often, like I'll hear brand sales time, oh, we're going to get better, and then they never do. These guys did. Now, if you appreciate how we're still willing to point out the good with the bad, hit that subscribe button, and let's get in there and see what this one might have to offer your family. But I mean, I've still found a couple little glitches, and I'm going to point them out as we go because I want them to see this stuff, and I hope they continue to improve. One thing they told me they've already recognized and want to improve is what's going on here with the air conditioner. When they changed over to this Tron lighting, they didn't realize that one of the light beams was going to go directly under the air conditioner shroud. So basically there's gonna be a little adjustment there so that doesn't happen. But even so, it's still working pretty fine. They are using a nicer Coleman mock air unit, and this is one of the major things they did differently. Last year, they had a 6.5-foot sidewall and a barreled ceiling. This year, they went to a linear ceiling that is 6'9" tall. They literally grew the slide walls, and that allowed them to grow the slide out height, and it allowed them to grow the shower height and the bunk height and the cabinets and everything. Not to mention, when you have a linear interior profile, you organically eliminate a ton of glitchy, janky fit and finish issues because you're not trying to marry a flat edge up to a radius edge. And that right there eliminated so many of the little fit finish glitches that they had. But they continued to improve beyond that. And overall, I am so happy with how far they've come. And if they continue to keep their foot on the gas pedal like this, look out. This is going to be a sleeper brand that absolutely shocks people and knocks their socks off. Now, to be fair, this RV, this layout does not benefit from awesome campside window coverage. We've got decent window coverage over on the driver's side. Big old U dinette here. Now, the table base is actually asymmetrical. You can basically have the table mounted hanging more over the rear bench, or you can have it sticking out a little bit more like I've done here. And where this is really nice, if you bring along a couple lightweight little folding stools, you can add like extra seating on this side and really pack the whole family around it. Now, you might notice they're not giving us doors, they're not giving us drawers to get to the dinette storage, but it's not actually really difficult to get to. I'm going to show you that later in the video. Now they don't do a really extended carpetless flap hanging off the end of the slide floor, so it looks like the slide flooring levitates a little bit, especially in the chilly weather like we're looking at today. Yeah, so it's not that it's a flooring problem. It was just kind of they didn't want it sticking out too far so that it got like bunched up and curled. But you may notice we also are a totally ventless floor plan. They're very good about keeping the heat vents out of the floor. I think with only one exception, under the sliding storage under the bed in the private front bedroom, if I'm not mistaken. It's been a little while since I peeked under there, but that feels right. Now, there's smaller versions of this floor plan. They decided to stretch this one to just about 30 feet, and that gave them more countertop space. But you notice that your power outlets, they are mounted fairly high up there under the overhead cabinets. Now, one of the other things to kind of teach you how to fish, when you go through one of these, keep an eye on those big white stickers on the power outlets. Those are telling you that those are run to the inverter prep on this RV. Now, another thing I want to point out is something that people don't understand. Like there's a very large dialogue in the RV industry right now that basically saying thermofoil countertops and tabletops are bad. Well, there's good and there's bad thermofoil. The way to know the difference is to actually take a knee, like Tim Tebow, and look under these things. If you can see the exposed particle press board under it, it's not a sealed thermofoil. It's just basically a Formica cap on particle board. And humidity and moisture could get under there and could pop the top off of that. They are using a little more expensive sealed thermofoil that, unless you crack the seal, unless you break the candy-coated shell, moisture can't get in there, can't cause it to swell, can't cause it to erode, you know? So that's a nice touch. I like the location of that converter fuse box so that it's far away from, it's not blocked off by the slide out when it's closed, basically. Our bunks look like they have a 300-pound capacity. It is one curtain to share between the two bunks. Each bunk, though, does have a breeze window. I didn't get that bunk mattress flipped down very well, did I? And I also want to mention that they both have their own light and USB plug. If I get you right up here, they actually build a USB plug right on the light itself. And that's something that a lot of people miss on these because you're used to looking for USB plugs on the walls, but you don't see that here. But again, last year, when I would look up at the trim, especially where the trim like met the bathroom wall, the fit and finish in here absolutely sucked in these. The structure was great, but the fit and finish sucked. And we are not having that problem this year. I think some folks may also appreciate the fact that they do not go with the peekaboo, I smell you bathroom door. They still got a little bit of trim work to improve right there, obviously. I'm not trying to oversell it. They have made some dramatic improvements overall, though. Now, they are still rocking the dollar store 4-inch fart fan up here. You can kind of see its little silhouette, but I'm going to get you up close and personal to give my arm enough room to reach around the corner to flick on the lights for you. How about that? This feels like an area where a lot of brands would put a window in the bathroom, and windows in the bathroom, I think, really church the place up and they look great. I don't know that I would ever have the window shade open myself. RVers who are out there currently, what do you do with your bathroom windows if you have one? Leave me a note and let me know. In the meantime, you might notice, take a look at the right side of the screen, the space around the toilet is absolutely fantastic. And that is a big, rectangular, very large shower pan. And with the increased ceiling height that they have now, they actually have room where even as like I'm a little bit over 6 foot, plus I got my big on cloud shoes with the thick soles on right here. That's thick with 2 C's on them soles, by the way. They thick. Yeah, you get the idea. I can still stand in that without my head being in the skylight, which is something with a shorter sidewall I'm traditionally not able to do. Now, I mentioned this can fold down into a sleeper, but I also mentioned the storage is not terribly difficult to get to, at least 2/3 of it. Because basically, they use a system almost like a pontoon bench, where the seating is on a hinge and it just sort of folds forward. Now, if you want to get to the back bench, yeah, you got to take off the cushions, you got to remove the table. It's kind of a pain in the neck. It'd be nice if they gave us an outside baggage door to get to that, but they don't. This is also an easier way to get to display that asymmetrical table mount that I mentioned, so you can have the table sticking out a little further or a little further back, depending on basically how big your belly is. Now, there's a couple things that I would love them to consider. Like, there's a little pocket of wasted space above that refrigerator. When the ceiling got taller, the slide out got taller, and basically just the fascia above that got taller, but they didn't actually use the space. And that refrigerator stops about 9 inches or so before the sidewall. So there's technically a dead pocket of space wasted back there. Like you'll see Rockwood will tend to do some outside baggage doors to utilize that space in a way that leaves it not wasted, that not an ounce of space gone to waste kind of mentality that I like to mention. Now, this RV does not have a folding cargo bunk system. That could be cool, but it's because their water heater is back there, which actually is a nice safety thing for the kids that we'll talk about when we hop outside. Moving on from there, we've got ourselves, what's kind of cool is this could be pantry space. It could be closet space for the bunks. You might notice there was a hanging rod right up in the top there. A little bit difficult to see, but you get the idea. And you may have also noticed how they have continued to provide a full set of kitchen appliances. They haven't quietly peeled out the propane oven on these. Some people don't care. Some people do. I'm just pointing out the differences. I'm not saying a brand's cheap if they don't have an oven, but there is a cost savings to not having an oven. This is also pocket screwed lumber core cabinetry. And it's interesting, they went with hidden hinges, but we still have the traditional camper clips to hold this closed, where a lot of brands have gone to magnetic holdbacks. And I think it's that kind of, this is sort of in that, how do I say it, like middle class mindset, where it's not the full on luxury build, but it's definitely not entry level. You know, this is solidly somewhere in the middle. If I'm gonna be picky, I would like a space under that sink for a wastebasket, but that's, you know, that's just one of those things that I guess we don't have. The electric space heating fireplace is standard. The TV is actually an option. I'll get the cabinet doors out of the way in a second to give you a better look. And you might notice privacy sliding doors over there for the bedroom. And I mentioned how this can fold down into a sleeper. I feel I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't take a second to actually fold that down and showcase that. But something else, it's interesting, if you look, your back cushions actually slide down behind the butt cushions, and that's really smart, because I don't know if you've never camped, you don't realize those back cushions love to slide out of the way all the time, and with those butt cushions basically having a literal mechanical hinge holding them in place, your dinette cushions aren't gonna frickin' slip slide all over the place in this thing, which is nice. And nothing says in a pinch, if you're stuck inside on an extended rainy day that you weren't planning on for some reason, nothing says you couldn't use that like a makeshift lounge. It's not as comfy as a sofa, but it might get you through. I also really like when they did this update, they said, you know, we're just so sick of having just 2 lights stuck in the slide ceiling like everybody. And they're kind of coming up with these nice little softened ideas, and I love the indirect lighting in there. One thing, again, trying to be fair, when they introduced this, they introduced a lot of opportunities where some of that old fit and finish is kind of creeping up in there, and they're aware of that. They're like, we feel like we're onto something here, and they're going to improve it. But they know that they need to finish it better than what you're seeing here. So again, if I see something, I say something. There's one other glitch I need to point out when we get up into the bedroom. But real quick, if you look through the doors, look at the left side of the screen above the window, there's a little sticker there. That's where you could actually mount a TV in this bedroom. Because you have the twin sliding doors, you don't have an actual like wall across from the bed to put it. Now, these are the indirect accent switches here in the living room and the ceiling lights, both of which are dimmable. But if I do that on my camera, it causes things to flicker, and that can be, you know, a medical problem for some people. So I try not to do that. This bedroom is interesting. Now, if I'm not mistaken, you can actually get this RV with 50 amp service and install a second air conditioner up here if you are so inclined. So that's a cool thing. But when you look at this at a glance, it doesn't have any bedroom power outlets. But if I slowly get you down here and take a knee right down to the ground, you see how what they actually have are inverter prepped household outlets and USB plugs next to that pocket. I would like it if they actually took a little bit of touch-up finish and where you see that raw wood exposed cut, I would like it if they touched that up. But that's actually not the glitch I was going to point out. There's technically nothing wrong with that. One thing I noticed in the specific RV we're looking at is it looked like a piece of that paneling under the overhead cabinet popped and bowed down a little bit right there. And if I was going to try to be cutesy, I would have just stood like this and you'd have never seen it on camera. So again, I'm always trying to be candid. I'm always trying to be fair and show you what's real. I do like the big cross breeze windows on both sides of the bed, but this is interesting. This is a 72 by 80 RV king bed. Now, the thing is, when you get a big wide bed like this, it's 80 inches long, so it's a full residential length, but there's still like a foot and a half or more at the base of the bed where you could walk around the bed comfortably because they decided to go to that 30-foot mark instead of like the 27-foot mark. They had a little more space in the kitchen. They had a little more space right here, so they did that. But the thing is, trying to fit fitted sheets, and I'm not even, I'm not saying, when you're fighting the fitted sheet in the bedroom, woo! I'm saying if you're actually trying to put sheets on this thing or make the bed or put on a pair of pants, there's not a lot of space to get around the bed. So they solved for that. They came up with this crazy, goofy, sliding, gliding bed kind of thing right here, where if you need more room to sit down to put on a pair of pants or whatever, you can get to it. That also makes it far easier for me to show you the storage under the bed. The thing is, because this whole thing slides, it's not fully technically enclosed, and you do actually have a heat vent down there, so you're going to want to make sure you don't load cargo on that thing. They could potentially get blocked off and mess up your heating or anything like that. Hold on, is this TV? Okay, so the TV is on a swing arm mount, so if you want to tilt it over to face toward the dinette, you actually could do that. Let's see what that actually looks like. I should have demoed that earlier. So, kind of propped up over here in the corner of the lounge space, sitting here, it's not bad. Again, it's not ideal. It is, I think, still by definition, it's a 90-degree neck wrecker entertainment center, Like, obviously, it's not straight across from me. It's very much like I'm sitting at practically a 45-degree angle here. But if I'm stuck inside and I can't go outside because it's rainy or cold or whatever, could it get me through the day with my family? Probably, yeah. Not to mention the fact that a lot of people tend to entertain themselves on these crazy little rectangles nowadays, so it's just not a floor plan that's really television focused. Let me ask you a question. There is a way to potentially, I guess you could argue, fix the entertainment center. What if instead of putting the TV on that wall, what if that was all cabinets? And instead of having full cabinetry over the sink, the cabinet or two next to my head, what if these right here, what if that is where they mounted the TV? Would you prefer that? Is that something they should consider and explore? I don't know. Leave me a note. Let me know. Meanwhile, I have pulled the rack and pinion slide in to showcase the fact that this RV has some pretty excellent travel stop road mode. Like, hold on, my pants, there we go. It got hooked on something on the window. I don't know. But I can obviously, from the door, you can walk right into the bedroom. I can walk right around here. And because they went with just kind of a slightly angled kitchen counter, they didn't go with a full-on 90-degree peninsula. It means that you can still very easily walk through here without ever needing to toe touch in the slide, because a rack and pinion slide has a lot of benefits, but it shouldn't be occupied while it's retracted. You can leave storage and stuff, but just hold on. I just realized I already had this bathroom door open. Okay, yeah. No, I was just I was trying to figure out if that was going to clear. So, bathroom, bunks, kitchen, bedroom, all travel stop accessible and road mode functional. Not too bad. If you like how we take the time to showcase this for you, open all the storage, or give you the little pro tips or ask you questions so you can help provide input to the factory, any of it, hit that subscribe button, like our video, leave us notes as thanks, nerd. And let's roll. Now, people like to ask, what kind of vehicle is it going to take to tow that thing? Some tow package half tons are going to handle this one. But something that actually kind of shocked me on this, when I looked this up, it had a rather chunky hitch weight, like 800 pounds plus. Now, especially considering this is a bunkhouse, You're going to have a lot of extra human body weight in the vehicle eating into your payload. And this sounds really funny, but you could actually tow a couples camper with a heavier hitch weight as compared to a bunkhouse model if you're transporting the whole family in the vehicle because of how their body weight eats into your payload capacity. So there's maybe some half-ton towing potential here, but it's really going to depend on your vehicle. You may need to step up a little bit. Now, the this RV, it's a good thing we got the extra weights and measures for you, and we listed them on the bottom of the screen right there, because I went to walk over here and check how this specific RV scaled out, and I don't know if this was an initial prototype or what the crap happened, but according to this RV, it is weightless. It has 0 pounds GVW, but it also suffers from a debilitating negative 6,138 pounds of cargo. The thing is, 6,138 is actually the scaled dry weight of this RV because the way that the math works out on these tags. I've seen some goofiness like that happen a few times. I talked to my people internally, and we're actually already getting some updated stickers from the factory on this one, because that might actually be a DOT problem. I don't know. But anyway, let's talk a little bit of construction. You've got single layer Asdel just below the fiberglass, which really helps fight heat expansion and contraction stress on the skin. Older RVs that are laminated sometimes never have leaks, but may actually have delamination spots that look like bubbly toad skin because of just frequent sun exposure, where the fiberglass and the Luan stretch at different rates. And Asdel and fiberglass together doesn't tend to do that. Not to mention Asdel's a little bit lighter weight material. You do have your 5/8 floor decking, so they're not, you don't have a laminated floor where some folks worry about like potentially building soft spots over time. Now you actually have 2 layers of disconnect here. The front one behind the power tongue jack. This thing is the, they call it the vault. And Keystone calls it the Giggy box. It's a similar thing where basically it's a battery disconnect on steroids where it does not suffer from parasitic draw. If we get over here into this huge front pass-through that runs under that bed, notice how it's wide open all the way through. They even do aluminum structure under the bed just to help with the weight, which is good because this thing, again, has a hefty hitch weight. I was really shocked by that. But you have a dedicated solar disconnect here. There's some long-term storage benefits to that, depending on how your RV is stored. Now, it is TPMS prepped. It's kind of plug and play. We do have motion lighting for the front pass-through. Now, this is an interesting thing. By default, this RV company actually will go ahead and install a 30-amp charge controller, and they will actually run the wiring to the battery hookup and up to the roof. But by default, this RV does not have solar. There's 2 things you can do here. What we do with most of our inventory of Bishes is we order it with their basic level of solar package, which is a 190-watt panel up on the roof. And you may have noticed it's prepped for an inverter. You can also get the slightly more advanced package on this, which will give you a second 190-watt panel, and it will also apply a 2,000-watt inverter to the RV, which is the maximum that this RV is wired to handle. Because again, this is in that intermediate level. It's not entry level. It's not full-on blow your budget out luxury level either. You know, like they do something. Let me back up. Look at this awning. They put a really good awning on here, which is awesome. I don't care for the speaker location, but I do love the awning size. But again, I want to be fair. They're running import tires. I want to tell you what's real and let you decide what's important to you. If the only thing you need to take this RV home is a tire swap, at my home store here, I literally have a Bell tire, I would say within a stone's throw, but I'm not Uncle Rico from Napoleon Dynamite, who thinks he can throw a football over them mountains, you know? But check this out. This is a new option. By default, you normally have power stabilizers all the way around on this, but they have a new auto leveling system on here that I think we are going to see catch on a lot, because it's going to do a couple things. Obviously, it just makes the setup of the RV a lot simpler and easier, push button simplicity. Secondly, it will memorize the hitch height of your RV when you get unhooked. So when you go back to like, when you raise your leveling gear, it will put the tongue jack back where you can just back right under it with your vehicle, which is easy, which is awesome. Secondly, this RV is under 30 foot, or right around that mark. Previously existing auto leveling systems often were not really compatible with RVs under 30 feet because the gyros didn't quite work right. This system does. This is a new system that I think is going to catch on well. By the way, if you look under the skirt line in that back corner, you might notice two like white tags hanging down, dribbling in the breeze. Well, dribbling? I don't know. That's not the right word. You know what I mean. Drifting. There we go. Waving. This actually has two outside propane hookups, which I don't even know if it needs that, but they have one for the included griddle and then one if you want to bring along your own separate thing. We're TPMS prepped, as I mentioned. We're camera prepped. We're ladder prepped up on the back here. And if I work my way down, I really like where they put the water heater location on this one. It does prevent us from having a cargo bunkhouse, but it also means I don't have a hot to the touch, burn my kids' fingers surface, blowing hot air right out over my campside of the RV. It's blowing hot air out its backside, kind of like my Uncle Gary on Chili Bean Tuesdays. But, you know, he doesn't do Taco Tuesday, he does Chili Bean Tuesdays. Just, that's all he eats, though, just chili beans. Not chili, just the chili beans. Don't ask me why. My Uncle Gary's just a weird dude. I haven't figured it out. That was a tankless on-demand water heater, by the way. You may have noticed they're still including a full bumper, traditional spare tire bumper mount, so it's easy to access. Now, over here, you've got your black tank flush, your water hookups. That is a cold water only, but, you know, higher pressure sprayer outlet. And we do have a consolidated sewer system right here, so you don't have to do the poop scoot boogie to shift your hookups between a couple different RVs all at the same time. Now, your roof is walkable, despite the fact that they don't actually give you a ladder. They only prep for one. And you might notice no special brackets that say, you know, slide awning prepped. You can install slide awnings on this, but keep in mind, since they're not factory installed, they wouldn't be covered by your factory warranty. You're going to want to kind of get it in writing that the people who install those for you actually stand behind their work. And I thought this was a nice touch. They've got slam latches. They have sealed protected piano hinges to keep them away from, you know, freezing rain. And they're using a key-like system. So it's the Lord of the Rings style, one key to rule them all. You're not going to have to walk around with a whole bunch of keys off your belt loop like I do. Well, what do you think, everybody? Like I said, it's still not perfect, and they know that. They know that they still have some things they need to improve. But if you watched my MPG videos last year, tell me this is not significantly improved, and they've really done the work right here. I'm happy to see it. Now, what I'm going to do is leave you some links in the description to double check pricing and availability on one of these on our website, whether you're curious or whether you're serious. And if I've got some similar floor plans from some other builders, which I do, I'll drop you some links to those too. Like Bullet has a very similar layout coming, 22 something bunkhouse. I don't know. It doesn't matter. The links will be down there. And when you're ready, we're ready. And until next time, take care, stay safe, have fun, and happy camping, everyone.